Welcome everyone to Central Intermediate Unit 10's online instruction series. This session is an introduction to Google Hangouts Meet. I'm Mike Baker. Diane and Renee are also joining us today. And before we begin, please make sure that you have muted your microphone. You may leave your camera on if you'd like, but if you don't want everyone to see you, you can absolutely turn your camera off as well. Diane and Renee are going to be watching the chat window. That will be the way that you communicate with us during the first 30 minutes of the session. After that, I will allow everyone to unmute the microphones, and then you can ask some questions using your microphone, and we'll try our best to answer. We'll also answer some things in the chat window as they come up, so feel free to use that. You'll find that simply by looking for the chat button and clicking there, and it will pop out if you don't see it. Now,
and Mike, real quickly, for folks that just joined us then, do you want to go through the more and the renaming again so we can see where everyone's from? Or
Sure, yes. So if you look at your participant window, I cannot show you that, but if you look at the participant window, you can find yourself in that window. If you hover over your name and click on the More button and then choose Rename, it would be very helpful for us if you could replace, if you just have a first name or a first initial and last name, if you could put your full name in and your district's name or initials, something like that, we'll know where you're from and we'll have your full name and know exactly who you are. We are reporting this. Some of the districts are asking us to give them rosters for Act 48. So we will be sending those, and this will help. Hopefully this information will show there. If not, we'll figure it out. But it's very helpful if you can just hover over your name, rename, and put some identification.
And if you don't see the more folks, if you just, what do you call them, Mike? I call them ellipses as an English person. In the upper right of your picture, there will be ellipses. And if you click on those, you should see the option.
That is correct. A recorded version of this workshop will be available. In fact, it is this workshop that is being recorded. So any questions you ask, just so you know, they will be recorded. We will save the chat transcript as well. You will be able to access this recorded version, hopefully this evening, at the very latest tomorrow morning, on the same site you used to join us today. So you'll see a button there that will take you to YouTube to watch the recorded version. Finally, please know that this session does have a hard stop time. We will stop at 3 p.m. That enables us to do some of the other things we have to finish here this afternoon. If you have any questions that would happen to pop up after today's session, please feel free to email me. My address is easy to remember. It's just mbaker@ciu10.org. So, welcome to this session on Google Hangouts Meet, I should say. It's always tough. I always leave the S and put it on the wrong place. So, Hangouts is Google's video conferencing collaboration platform. It is relatively simple. It lacks a lot of the bells and whistles. If you were in one of the earlier Zoom sessions, you're not going to see a lot of that here, but the benefit is it's very tightly integrated to the Google G Suite platform. So if your school, and 10 of our 12 public schools are using the G Suite, if you're using it, this might be a good jumping off point if you're a little hesitant to take the plunge into Zoom right away, if it looked a little daunting to you. So you access this page simply by going to meet.google.com. And there are two different ways to start a meeting. It's very similar to what Zoom is if you were in that session. I can click here to very quickly start a meeting and then just invite some people to it. But I can also schedule meetings. So you can see I had an 11:10 earlier today, and I have a 2:15 coming up. And I will demonstrate those in a moment. But first, let me show you the really kind of quick way to start a meeting, which is simply clicking here. And we give it a name. And what will happen here in one moment, it's going to join this meeting. It's going to preview my camera. Now, it's a little weird because I'm doing a Hangout from inside Zoom. You can tell which one is the Hangout. The Hangout, I'm not at the beach. Okay? In the Zoom video, I am at the beach. So now, if you have multiple cameras, by clicking on the Kebab menu and going to settings, you can change your camera. So I have multiple microphones, and I also have a couple webcams connected. So that is how you can choose those things. So if you have a better quality microphone or a nice camera you want to use, you simply click here, go to settings, and then change the camera. Let me join. Now, no one is going to be in this meeting. I'm just going to demonstrate, show you some interface things here. Again, much simpler than what you saw in Zoom if you were there. What this window is showing me is this is a nickname for the meeting. It's telling me here, by the way, that it can only be used in IU10. So that would change based on your district. And what that means is you could actually send somebody just this quick code and they could very quickly join using that nickname. So that's just another way to join a meeting if they have the nickname. This is what most of us will do. This join information, I'll highlight it on the screen. So basically they'll go to meet.google.com and then KRE dash, etc. Luckily I can just click right here and I can copy this and then just paste it into an email. I could put it in Google Classroom. I can also add people here. So let me add, in fact, what I'll do is I will add my home Google account just to give you an idea of what's going to happen here. So I'll send this invitation. And in just a moment, I will show you what it's going to look like over here. So let me switch. So now, if this is working correctly, I think you should be seeing my Gmail inbox. This is my home address, yes, not my IU10 address. And here's the invitation. So I'm going to, in a moment, click join the meeting. So let me switch back over so you can see what's happening in Hangouts. So now you'll go back to that picture of my giant melon. And let me join the meeting from my home account. And this is when things get crazy because now I'm streaming inside of a stream, inside of another stream. So things could get very, very weird. So I just joined. So notice how the camera angle switched. That is because that's coming from my webcam built into my laptop, which is off to the side right now. So on my screen, I'm seeing an alternate angle. And on my laptop screen, I'm seeing that head-on view that you're also seeing through Zoom. So I've added myself, and I can then come up here. This is kind of our participant window. I can add people here, and I can also mute people. So this is my other account, and I could come in here and I could say, all right, well, let's mute him. So now I can't talk through the other one. I'm going to hang up on that end, because this is just bizarre, because I can show you everything else in another way. So it's telling me here that I've left the meeting. Okay, super, super simple interface in Hangouts. On the lower left corner, you can always pull up that nickname and the joining information. This is fantastic because what happens, and even adults do this, it's one of the things that really drives me nuts. You'll be in a meeting and then you get an email that says so-and-so is waiting for you. Well, they didn't have the right address for this meeting. So if you keep an eye on your email, you can quickly hit copy joining info, hit reply, and just paste this in and send it to them. So that's really, really handy. The other thing that's here, which was on the previous screen, I just forgot to show you. Well, Ryan has joined because he's an IU10 person. So he used this, he must have used the nickname. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
We probably can't hear him just because we're in this weird nexus of Zoom and Hangouts right now, but we can see him. He's glowing there. Hi, Ryan. There is a phone number here. So just like in Zoom with Hangouts Meet, people are allowed to join by phone. They simply call that number. Notice it is not a toll-free. I think with cell phones, that doesn't matter quite as much. But then they enter a PIN code, and that PIN code will put them in using their phone audio. I'm going to circle back to this attachments thing in a moment. I'll show you how that works, but this Meet does not have an attachment. Also, along the bottom, there's only a few more buttons left here. I can mute my microphone. I'm going to do this. You'll still hear me. And the reason you still hear me is because my audio is coming from Zoom, not from Google Hangout. Here we go. Guessing you can still hear me. And that's just a weird little thing because we're doing one chat inside of another. Notice that it is asking me, it can tell that I'm talking and it knows that I'm muted. So it's telling me, hey, your mic is off. You may want to turn it on. So I'll turn that back on. Don't want to hit this. That will hang up. That will leave the call. So that will end this. Here's my video camera, so I can turn off my webcam. Again, you will only see me disappear in this Google Hangouts Meet window. I'm still on that tropical island because that's Zoom. So I'm trying to be transparent on what's happening here. That's why you can still see me even though I turned off the camera. One of the coolest features is the ability to turn on captions. So I'm going to turn on the captions now, and I'd like you to watch your screen. You will also have this button as a viewer, so you can turn this on at any time. So I'm turning on my captions, and what you're seeing now is a transcription of everything I am saying. If you have students who have, they may have hearing disabilities, maybe they use a screen reader because of that. You know, with a visual disability or impairment, the screen reader would be able to grab this text and read it to them. If you watch how this is working, you see that it is very, very fast. It is keeping up with me pretty well. And it does a really nice job, even with punctuation, for the most part. I'm going to turn that off now. That will work with anybody that is on this call. So any person who turns that on will see everyone's voice transcribed. It is speech to text for all the people in the room. And again,
Mike, that's an awesome feature. And Anne wanted to know, is there an option for it to be printed in a language other than English for English learners?
Yes, we had that question earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There is not. It does not record, so it does not take. It'd be nice if it took a copy of the transcript, then you could copy and paste it in and use Google Translate. That would be one way to do it, but it does not save the transcript of the closed caption.
Yeah.
And it also will not we had a question earlier today, will it translate on the fly? So if I speak English, can it translate into Spanish? It does not do that.
No.
Now, if you want, for world language teachers, they could switch their Google account to the target language and then start the Meet, and it will work. So a German teacher could, and I know world language teachers, a lot of them have done this already. If they switch to German, Spanish, French, then it will run in that language because their language settings will indicate that. And
that would be that account. And then
Correct.
Michelle wanted to know, just to clarify, so in Zoom, I don't think there is, but there's not a transcription, or there is a transcription feature?
But it's not built in, and it's not free unless you can find a free one.
Okay.
So the two ways that Zoom will handle transcription for closed caption, you can assign someone to transcribe the meeting for you. So you can pick a participant and they can type. But there are some websites that will handle closed captioning. And if you join one of those, and some may be free and some are pay for sure, you can put in their API code, which is just kind of a nerdy way, a key in essence, and then link it to Zoom, and then it will do it automatically. So it's not built in, Michelle, but you can enable it, but you have to kind of jump through some hoops. Yeah, it can be done. And if you need extra help with that or get stuck, just let me know. And we can certainly work together to figure that out. Mm-hmm. This button down here, the Present Now button, gives me the option whether I want to show you my entire screen or just a window. I don't think I need to demonstrate that because then we're going to have a window inside of Hangouts, inside of Zoom, which I don't even want to think what the ramifications will be of that. But simply clicking there, I can pick either a single window. So if I want to show a browser window, but I have another app open that I need to look at, I can do that. So if you have your email in one window, for example, and a presentation in another, you can pick the window that has the presentation the people in the meeting will only see the presentation, and you can still see your email or your notes for that presentation. So think of it as a way to kind of have a presenter view while you're doing one of these webinars. The last thing that's hiding down here in the corner is the kebab menu. Those 3 vertical dots, that's what it's called, the kebab. You can change the layout. It's set for auto, and what auto will do is it will arrange based on how many people you have in the room. It should also bring people to the foreground if they are speaking. If 2 people are speaking, it will put them side by side. I highly recommend you leave it on auto unless you really want to have the full screen experience as Spotlight. That is the person who is the loudest. They will show up there. Typically, that would be me. Also hiding down here under under the kebab menu is a way to toggle full screen. It just turns your browser into the full window. I can turn captions on here as well. Settings you already saw. That's where I go in and pick what camera or microphone I want to use. So as you can see, it's very, very simple. At the very top, this is my people window. So right now it's just me, Ryan, left, and the chat window. And even though there's no one here, I can just say hello to them and we can chat back and forth. Hangouts lacks a lot of the chat controls that I didn't really show you today if you were in the Zoom meeting, but Zoom, you can actually say, don't allow private messages. Don't allow people to chat this way. Don't allow them to send files. You cannot do that here in Hangouts. Again, this is designed to just get you into video conferencing as quickly and as easily as possible. Okay.
There was one, Mike,
yes.
It was Jan asked about, how about a music teacher for lyrics? Jan, I think, was that in terms of the transcription, when you were back on the transcription, I think?
Yeah. It's so Jan, it's only going to be as good as the sound that's coming into it. So, and I'm not sure, that's something I would have to test. I don't know that Hangouts can grab your computer's audio. I know that Zoom can. So I would think that playing audio into a microphone, depending on the quality of the microphone, it may be able to use the closed captioning. But a lot of that is going to depend on yes, I think a teacher singing would be fine into a microphone, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Playing something from an MP3 or a CD or something like that, it won't be able to separate it from the music. But if you're doing a cappella stuff and you want them to hear it and then see the words, that will work just fine. Okay, I just wouldn't jam out on an electric guitar. No, Michelle, I am not going to sing. That is something.
Jan has some really creative questions.
Well, she's in the arts, so that's just kind of natural there. Yes. Yeah. And the thing about seeing all this stuff, Jan, is it does kind of get your curiosity going, because there is such great potential. And I think maybe a positive fallout of this whole COVID-19 thing is going to be, it's forcing all of us to look at tools in a new way. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of us, I think, will continue to use some of these tools after this crisis passes. Do you have to have a Google account? Yes. When it sends an invitation to somebody who is not a Google user, it is more than likely, I would say with 99% certainty, going to say you have to make a Google account. Good thing is, any old Gmail account will work. It does not have to be an institution-based corporate or education account. It just has to be a Gmail account, and those are free. So it's not that big of an issue. However, please keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that students under 13 are not supposed to be making accounts like that. That can get us in some trouble without parental permission. So best practice for schools, make sure they're using their school accounts. Please, please, please don't recommend that your kids get, your students get accounts. That's just opening us up for problems. And I know some people that did that with 7th graders, and it was not good. The parents were not happy. Okay, so I want to show you one other thing here, and I have about 10 minutes to do that, which is more than enough time. So I'm going to hang up on this Hangout. And you should now be seeing my browser again, correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to switch to my calendar. So one of the things I mentioned to you was in that lower left corner, when I clicked on the information, there was an attachment area and it was empty. So I want to show you what happens, how we get stuff into that attachment area. So I've already scheduled, I'm going to open this. Actually, it's this one. So this is a Hangout that I made earlier today. And it's scheduled it for 2:15 to 3, just to parallel what we're doing today. And it looks like I invited myself. So if you look over here, here's that home Gmail account that I have. But I don't have anything down here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a note here. So there are files we're going to see during this Hangout. So I'm going to click this Add Attachment button. And let me just pick the presentation we're using and these notes in our schedule. And I'll select those 3 files. So you can see they're now kind of attached here, just like we see in an email. So when I save this now, it's going to tell me, do you want to send an updated email to existing guests? So I'm going to say sure, and I'll tell myself that the attachments were added. But one other unique thing is going to happen. Oh, in fact, it didn't happen, and I'll explain what it was and then why it didn't. It will normally ask you to give those people permissions. So if you pick a file from your Google Drive and the person you're inviting does not have access to that, it's going to tell you that, and you can give them access. The reason it didn't do that to me just now, I had previously given my home address access to it. So it just so happens the 3 files I picked, I've already given myself access to through that other account. But what's nice about that, if you think about it, a few years ago when we started doing all this sharing, where you sent people links, you'd get all these emails that said, you didn't share it with me, or they're asking permission. And they've fixed that problem now. So I'm going to go back to the main screen of Meet. And I love the artwork on this. It's always changing. Yeah, it changes every few minutes. And they do give credit down here. You can click and visit the artist. So I'm going to start this afternoon Hangout. And again, this is the same screen we saw before. And I'll join. And then I'm going to pop over to my laptop. And I'm going to join from here as myself. So I got a new email that says the attachments have been added. And in just one moment, there I am. I'm in that meeting. And Diane makes fun of that picture. Thank you for that. Okay, now if I return back over to the bottom of this screen, notice now that the paperclip icon is on. So something is there. There's an attachment. So if I click here, now it says I have 3 attachments because I added them to the calendar. And here are the 3 documents that I want to share with everyone. So if you're doing this, if you think about this, I have to hang up on myself because this is just ridiculous. I'm seeing myself 5 times on my screen. Okay. Think about the way we can use this with students. So instead of saying, hey, I need to go out to Classroom and grab these 3 files, which they may still exist in Classroom. It's not a terrible idea, but you can give them everything they need this way. By the way, if you invite anybody to a calendar event, it does not have to be a video conference like Hangouts Meet. If you invite anybody to a meeting and you put attachments with that invitation, they will get access to them. Okay, so that's a little tip for everybody. So I can tell you at our office for our monthly meetings, we get a separate email that says, here's the agenda. and we get an invite that doesn't have the agenda. If the agenda had been attached to the invitation, the calendar invite, we can just go to our calendar and click on it and pull up the agenda from the appointment. So it's telling me my internet connection is unstable, just like me. So I'm going to leave this call, and hopefully that will fix that. Does it, you guys still hear me okay, Diane and Renee?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. It just gave me a warning. So I'm going to come in here and take a look at some of the chat messages here.
Yeah, Mike, we have one. Molly wanted to know about do the kids have to have a Google account, or can anyone with the link? Oh, that was Michelle, sorry.
Yes,
Molly
I did answer that one.
Kids with Gmail addresses from schoolwork, will they work? She says, I don't think they're really live, but not sure.
Okay, so that's a really great question, Molly.
It is.
What a lot of districts are doing is, because of the switch to Chromebooks, they have to use a Google account to log into a Chromebook, but they put the kids, especially the younger ones, into groups that don't have all of the services available to them. So you can log into a Chromebook with a Google account and not be able to send Gmail. So one of the things before we start this, so let's say that this shutdown extends, and that's why we're all here thinking that we're going to need to use all of these tools. You will need to check with your administrator, who can then check with your IT department to make sure that things like Hangouts Meet are on for the kids. A lot of districts have it disabled because the kids could use their Chromebooks to video chat with each other during the day. My guess is that the IT directors and the administrators will be more willing to open this right now, given the circumstances. This is something that you want to test before you use it and make sure it's not blocked. And by the way, it could be on for us as educators and not on for the kids. That can also happen. I've been to districts where they use Google Classroom, but they weren't allowed to join my Google Class from IU10 because their administrator had them set to not to be able to join from other places. So that was a long-winded way of saying, verify that it works and check with your IT department to make sure it's on. Yes, you could share the link in Google Classroom. Michael mentioned that. Certainly that link that we saw in the lower left corner can easily just be copied and pasted into Classroom. So how do we start a meeting for a later time or a different day? So my best practice is always to schedule those in advance. Let me switch back to my calendar and let's go to kind of a weekly view. So it's really, really easy to set up a Hangout meeting. I'm just going to pick a block of time. Let's do tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and I'll just take that hour. And I'll just very creatively call it meeting there. I like to click on more options. I don't like to set all this stuff up here, but right here where it says conferencing. Now, I have the Zoom plugin installed. That's why you see Zoom buttons as well. Those won't be there if you don't have Zoom installed. But all you do to schedule this is click Hangout Meet. This will schedule it for later. You can simply right-click on this link and copy it and put that into Google Classroom or whatever other medium you want to use to distribute that link. You can also invite people here. So I don't think, so this is kind of interesting. I just checked this since this question came up. I started to type a name of one of my classes. So here's Star of Page and Screen. That's one of my Google Classrooms. I'd be interested. I'll try and let everybody know what happens, but that may very well send it to the class automatically. I'll have to look to see if it does that. But you can add, if you don't want to copy and paste over here, and I just wanted to invite Diane and Renee. I don't think either one will want to meet with me at 4 o'clock on Friday, but I can add them there. Okay. These little moons, by the way, and Diane doesn't set up working hours because she works 24 hours a day.
24 hours.
Right. But Renee and I have it set up that 4 o'clock is the end of our workday. So if someone tries to schedule us for something, that moon, if I hover, tells me it's outside the working hours. Okay. So, but this is the way you would schedule things in advance. So you can either use that link, or if you have a small group, you can invite people. I think most of us grab this link and probably put it in our existing classroom. Does that answer your question? I guess I can, let me unmute everybody now that we're at a point where we don't really have to worry too much about that. So I'm going to change this so you can unmute yourself. So if you do want to ask a question using the microphone, just hover over your name and unmute yourself or click the microphone. So you can only set up a future meeting through the calendar. Yes, because it's incredibly integrated. It's all part of the G Suite. You have to use the Google Calendar to set up the future meeting. There is no way to do it in the actual Meet window itself.
But I like having that Zoom and the Hangouts together. So that's because you downloaded Zoom, correct?
Correct. If you
have both on your
there's a plugin for Chrome that will add Zoom, so I could easily schedule a Zoom meeting from inside my Google Calendar. That's something I'll be showing on Monday. But I'm back in this main screen here. If I click join or start a meeting now, it only starts now. I can't schedule future. But what I do like, all my future ones are showing up on this screen. So it shows me my future and past Hangouts from my calendar. Also, if somebody invites me, they will show up here as well. And so, yeah, the whole thing is very tightly integrated. You guys are going to get an invite to this, Diane or Renee. Just decline.
Mike, Jen is asking, I think is there a time limit for the meetings?
No, not with Hangouts. There is no limit. No.
There isn't for Zoom either, but we know that online type work is very difficult after you reach a certain point. Like there's a reason we kept these at 30-minute intervals.
So Phil just let me know that may not be letting you unmute. I'm going to unmute everybody right now, but you may immediately want to mute your microphone if we get a lot of sound. But I'll unmute everybody. Okay, and if you have something to say, you can leave it on. If not, go ahead and mute it again. Sorry about that. It looks like it wasn't allowing people to. Other questions, either via text. It sounds like we're on the moon again.
It's a lot for folks to take in one day, especially those that sat in on both. So it just shows, honestly, the amazing teachers that we have. Ed was saying the 40-minute restriction normally, but they are waiving that, absolutely. And it's kind of tricky because the districts that don't have Zoom, it's a wonderful tool, but it's costly. So if after this is all said and done, our director of technology, Dan Berger, was saying that he would definitely look to for consortium pricing for RIU. Like I have a consortium fee to Get More Math that I negotiated, because if it's something that folks want and really kind of grow to rely or depend upon, then I think we can definitely get a discounted rate in the future. This can't be recorded either, right? Zoom is recordable.
Yes, Zoom you can record. The Hangouts Meet, you would have to use a plugin like Screencastify to record, but the free version of Screencastify has a limit of, I believe, about 15 minutes. So that may not be an ideal situation. Now, keep in mind that the recording features of Zoom, if you're looking at Zoom, are available only to certain account types. So right now we may have that in that free version because they bumped everybody up.
Yes.
But you will more than likely lose that once we get through this crisis. I don't think companies will allow us to keep all the free stuff for an indefinite amount of time. Somebody earlier asked about using if there was a whiteboard feature in this. So I've reviewed almost every feature. There is a way to rig a whiteboard, just so everyone knows. And that is to use what is called Jamboard, which is actually a Google hardware piece. It's an interactive display, but you don't have to have one to make the interactive whiteboard. So if you have interest in that, it's outside the scope and the time that we have left here. But if you would like to know more about that, just send me an email to mbaker@ciu10.org. But there is an interactive whiteboard tool that you could do on screen that simply you would just share while everybody is working, and you will be able to collaborate on a blank slate. But I did want to mention that for earlier. I did not mention that product, but it is free. You don't have to actually have the board.
Mike, there's someone on here that wants to know how you got the cool background.
That's in Zoom. That is not a Hangouts thing. You have to have a high definition camera, and then you can change your background. So now I am in space. I do not have a green screen.
Do you have a coronavirus background?
Yes, I do. Here's the coronavirus background. I'm in San Francisco now.
Okay. That's not even funny.
No, it's not funny, but that's a hotbed of it for sure.
If we have a little extra time next time, maybe, because I think they're doing these small increments. I think it's terrific for teachers, especially ones that are new to it.
Yeah.
Michelle, and I think I know the answer to it, but if she's logged into her Google Hangouts, does it show upcoming meetings anywhere, or are they all housed on her calendar?
It would show up there if it was scheduled correctly. So Michelle, I'll just schedule one with you right now for like tomorrow, just so you can see what it will do. So you're going to get a fake meeting invite from me, but that way you'll be able to see it. You may have to refresh. I don't know if it's going to happen right away, but I want you to see that. You'll get an invitation too, Michelle, but once that's created, I believe your screen should update. Yeah, see if you can see mine. I don't know what would keep the other one from being there. Any other questions? I think the chat has kind of dried up a bit now.
Yep.
We have just about 8 minutes left. I will certainly stay on for those 8 minutes, but if you have had your fill of these virtual conferencing platforms, video conferencing, you can feel free to drop out at this time, and we will make the archive version available as soon as possible, and we will be sending the rosters out to all of the districts as well for those that are taking attendance for Act 48 purposes. Please check our webpage that we created for these very special events. We have a full slate next week, and we'll certainly be adding things as we continue. Let's hope this is over sooner than later, but we do want you to know that we are still working. We are home-based, but we are here for you. So any questions you have as we start this new adventure of online learning, please reach out to any one of us, and we will give you as much help as we can possibly provide from our comfy chairs. Thanks, everybody.